So how many days per week do you need to lift weights to look great and feel like $1,000,000? That is the fundamental question that I will be addressing in this video today, for which I've included this outline here just to effectively acquaint you with what you can expect henceforth. And so firstly, I'll be delving into my big picture mindset and philosophy, just the way that I contextualize weightlifting within the context of my entire life, the lens, if you will, that I see it through. I'll be talking about a couple of different really nuanced edge case outliers that perhaps would necessitate daily training and why that likely does not apply to you and certainly does not apply to myself. I'll be talking about lifting versus cardiovascular training and how those fitness adaptations differ physiologically. I'll talk about 3 different factors that you'll definitely want to consider in terms of determining where the rubber meets the road in your life. I'll be showing you screenshots of my exact split towards the latter part of this presentation, the exact order and every single exercise that I perform on each of the 2 days that constitute my split. I'll have a very important message towards the end about volume and how that is the ultimate arbiter for the gains that you do or do not make. And then briefly, I'm going to introduce you to my website, Alpha Actualization, where you can learn more. So if you haven't seen my face before, you're new to my channel. My name is Jason, and my passion is personal development and paying forward the greatest possible insights that I've been fortunate enough to encounter and have applied to my life, to as an extremely socially stifled, awkward, introverted INTJ robot, get to a point of just feeling good, just feeling at ease with myself, becoming more effective in this life, and actually getting to experience degrees of intimacy that I never deemed possible, degrees of intimacy with the opposite sex that, quite frankly, just bring me to tears. And I'm just really fortunate to have had those experiences and to be at a point where I could just breathe. I don't feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I don't want you to feel like you're walking on eggshells in this life. I want you to feel like an actual resident, a citizen of society, no matter where you go, no matter what state you're in, no matter what door you walk through, what room you reside in. I want you to feel at home, like you are part of this bigger picture of the cosmos. You can see yourself in everybody and expand your circle of concern. And so the way that I contextualize weightlifting is that I see it as a supercharger, something that allows you to go further and faster in this life. It's not a level to get stuck at, but rather it's something that you equip yourself with that facilitates, that augments, enhances every other facet of your life. In other words, it's a door to walk through, not a room to reside in indefinitely. And it's something that is going to allow you to develop discipline, improve your confidence, your self-esteem, to render you more attractive to the opposite sex. Those are all amazing aspects that will be part and parcel to your weightlifting journey. But at the end of the day, you have to cash out, right? So the point isn't just to plant all of these proverbial seeds, but rather enjoy the fruits of that labor once they do indeed come to fruition. And so here are a few different examples, extreme edge case examples of where, for example, daily training would be part and parcel to these repertoires, not least MMA fighters, marathon runners, and then extreme enhanced androgenic anabolic steroid using athletes such as Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in just a minute, I will be delineating just some of the key differences between cardiovascular and resistance training adaptations. But just briefly, I did want to mention that, yeah, if you are an enhanced athlete and you are taking copious amounts of drugs that are super physiologically allowing you to recover from more volume than you would otherwise be able to naturally, then you may be well served by training daily, as I believe Arnold used to do for up to 5 hours a day. But the truth is, you're probably not training to be the next Mr. Olympia. You just want to look good and feel like $1,000,000. Probably not dissimilar to this look here. Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm assuming if you had this physique, you would probably be okay with that. And what's important to note about Cristiano is that he's actually not particularly jacked, but rather he has leanness over absolute size. And if you just want to look good and feel like $1,000,000, you don't actually have to be that big, assuming your body fat percentage is quite low and your proportions are effectively dialed in. So I wanted to show you examples of these ladies here who were much more greatly behooved by engaging in resistance training than cardiovascular work. Now, one of the major differences between them is that the latter is something that can actually detrimentally downward spiral much more greatly than the former. So what I mean by that is that the adaptations that cardiovascular training gives rise to require much more frequent bouts of engaging in to maintain. And so if you've ever engaged in any degree of endurance training, you can probably attest to the fact that in your experience, just taking 1 week off made a pretty big difference in terms of your fitness. But that's not the case with resistance training. And so if not for the aesthetic benefits that resistance training gives rise to, it's worth noting that the adaptations that it renders in the body, unlike, for example, with cardiovascular training, where the myoglobin and mitochondrial effects are very short-lived, with resistance training, it's going to take much longer, 2 weeks or more of no training to actually detrain. And so while you might take 1 week, hopefully 2 weeks tops off the gym, come back and you feel a little bit smaller, right? You're not filling out your shirt as much. The truth is a lot of that is transient, right? So a lot of that is just the fact that you're not super compensating with muscle glycogen because your body has no need for that. So maybe you're holding less glycogen, you're not as strong on the bench press just due to transient changes in the central nervous system. A lot of that is really short-lived with resistance training, and you can actually get away with what this lady here is doing 3 to 4 days per week of weight training as opposed to the 5 days per week that she had been engaging with cardiovascular training. Now, I would never actually recommend going below 3 days per week of weight training, but just know that you can build an incredible physique just training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, assuming that your volume is tailored. We'll delve into that at the end of this presentation. But one key factor that you want to consider is your schedule. And so again, placing weight training within the context of the grander scheme of your life, not dissimilar to sleep, seeing sleep as the end all be all. No, we see it as a supercharger for life. The reason we go to sleep and get our 8 hours is that we can wake up feeling like $1,000,000 and having a ton of energy to actually go out and sample the proverbial buffet of life. And the same with weight training. And so you need to figure out when you are actually going to be able to train, what sort of demands you are dealing with in terms of your job, your family, your relationships. Figure out what's important to you and find a way to actually fit lifting in, realizing that consistency is the king at the end of the day. Nobody ever walking the face of this planet got the physique of their dreams by going to the gym and banging out one incredible workout, but rather stair-stepping it over time and just being consistent. So another thing that you want to consider are your goals and your training history, right? So if you want to be the next Mr. Olympia, then I'm definitely not the guy that you want to be talking to. But if you want to be fit, you want to look good like Cristiano Ronaldo, you want to be lean, athletic, and actually healthy with appreciable longevity, then 3 days per week is really all that you need. But if your goal is to really maximize your natural potential, you would benefit by 4, 5, 6 days per week training. You just have to think about where you are right now and what level you actually want to play at, while realizing that the more days that you train, you are going to be encountering a situation depicted by the law of diminishing returns. And so you're not going to be getting twice the gains from 6 days per week as you will from 3 days per week. And in fact, if you don't have all of the other puzzle pieces really in place in your life, not least food, that's the first thing that you need to get dialed in to fix your physiology. I'm going to be releasing a video soon, which you should definitely be on the lookout for, about the top 10 foods for fitness, but also getting your sleep dialed in, realizing that both of these are sides of the same coin of recovery. If you're not able to recover from 3 days per week, going to 6 days per week is ultimately going to be detrimental. And so the other thing that you want to look at now, having factored in your time and your actual goals and training history, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or at the advanced level, is really deciding what sort of a split you want to do. And on the next slide, I'll be showing you screenshots of my exact split down to the exercise. But the bottom line here with training split is that you can get an incredible physique, look and feel like $1,000,000 on any split, be it a push-pull legs, full body, upper, lower, or the split that I'm going to show you on the next slide. Over time, you're going to figure out what you actually enjoy doing. And so there's this great psychological aspect of weightlifting, right? Because consistency is king. And so if you're not enjoying the workout, then you're probably not going to stick to it long term. The split that I've landed on after a decade of training is what you see here. And what I like about this split is that it incorporates push and pull within each day. And that allows me to superset and actually be much more efficient and train with a greater training volume, more sets per workout, per minute of time. Because I'm assuming you value your time just like I do. I only have so many hours in my day, so many minutes that I can allocate towards training. And so I want to do that in a hyper optimized, efficient fashion. Day one for me, arms, forearms, shoulders. I superset cable hammer curls with triceps press downs. I oscillate between those 5 times. I'll break that up with some side lateral straight sets before moving on to my next superset of preacher curls and overhead triceps extensions. I'll then superset some forearm work in the form of a wrist extension with my neck curls, and then I'll end off with straight sets of wrist curls. My day 2 is chest, back, and legs. I'm supersetting a wide grip bench press with pull-ups. Then I'll train some legs to give the chest and back a bit of a break. So I'm doing some leg curls. I've got hack squats in the mix. And then I'll do some standing calf raises, superset that with some neck work, and then end off with another superset, going back to chest and back on the pec fly and the reverse fly. And I simply take these 2 days and I oscillate between them with a day of rest in between. So Mondays, arms, forearms, shoulders, Tuesday off, Wednesdays, chest, back, legs, Thursdays off, Friday, I'm back to arms, Saturday off, Sunday, I'm back to chest, back, and legs, then Mondays off, and I'm back to arms on Tuesday, and I'm just cycling between them in that fashion so that I've always got 48 hours between training days. Now, this is the volume that I'm doing right now while being in a calorie deficit. Once I'm eucaloric, eating the number of calories that I'm burning, these sets are going to be going quite a bit higher. So I will ramp those up. And that leads into our discussion about volume. So I just don't want my take-home message of the fact that you can get a great physique training every other day like I do, or 3 days per week if you'd like, to be a cop-out to not train with an appropriate amount of volume. The truth is that most people are training with inadequate volume. And I know that was certainly the case of me for the first several years of my weightlifting journey. I was simply not doing enough sets. I was afraid of overtraining. I'm going to expose my body to more than it could have bargained for and recovered from. The truth is that if your nutrition is on point, you're following the philosophy that I espouse, your recovery is going to be better than 99% of other people, especially if you've got your sleep dialed in. Do not worry about training with too much volume, especially if you're training 3 days per week. That is the one thing that I would issue, that I would caveat with. Try to train with more sets, especially since you'll have a day of rest in between. And so lastly, I wanted to acquaint you with alphaactualization.com. This is an ever-growing catalog of really streamlined articles that are going to help you level up in this life. And I'm going to pull up my web browser now just to give you a sense of the user interface and a few of the articles here that you see about taking only supplements that you need, resistance training guidelines for health and aesthetics. We've got an article about getting better sleep and why that matters. There will also be an article corresponding to this video as well, which you can check out as well just to get the written details to accompany this video. That's it for today, my friend. Drop a comment down below, like and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, until next time, find your freedom. Peace.